Hi, this is Brad Linder with Liliputing, and this is an Acer C7 Chromebook. Now, if it looks familiar, that's because this is almost exactly the same case as the Acer Aspire V5 171 notebook, which I reviewed recently. That's a Windows 8 laptop, sells for about $499, has a Ivy Bridge Core i5 processor, Windows 7 operating system, and so forth. This version, as you can tell by the little Chrome icon on the lid here, though, runs Google Chrome OS, and what really makes it stand out from pretty much anything else in the market now is the fact that it sells for less than $200. It's a $199 laptop that runs Google's Chrome operating system, but basically has the guts of a cheap Windows laptop. This particular model has an Intel Celeron processor. It has 2 gigabytes of RAM and a 320 gigabyte hard drive, which makes it actually the first Chromebook to ship with a hard drive. That means that it's going to have more storage space than a typical Chromebook, but it's also going to be a little bit slower in terms of disk access, and that means it boots a little slower, resumes from sleep a little slower, and so forth. We've got a full-size Ethernet port here, VGA, HDMI, USB 2.0. 2 more USB 2.0 ports, so you've got a total of 3. There's a headset jack, power, and lock. And on the front here, we've got an SD card slot. On the bottom, there is an access panel, which I haven't opened up yet here, but it's possible you might be able to upgrade the RAM or the hard drive here. And unlike previous models of Chromebooks, it's got a removable battery, which is a good thing because this particular model has a battery, I believe it's a 37 watt-hour battery, which is only good for about 3.5 to 4 hours of battery life. Officially, it's stated at 3.5 hours. From what I've been told, that testing was done with Windows. I will be running some tests soon, but I wanted to give you a quick look here. It's possible you might get slightly better battery life running Chrome. But Acer is also open to the possibility of releasing a version of this that might have a higher capacity battery, or just selling a higher capacity battery for people who want more than 3.5 to 4 hours of battery life. Now, for what really makes it special here, it resumes from sleep pretty much instantly, even though it's got a hard drive instead of a solid-state disk. It boots in about 15-20 seconds. Officially, I believe it's supposed to be an 18-second boot time. The operating system itself is basically a web browser and not much more. There are a couple of things that you can do locally here. So, for instance, there is a file browser which links to Google Drive, and when you buy pretty much any new Chromebook, including this model, including the latest Samsung models, you get 100 gigabytes of free disk space for 2 years on Google Drive. That's their online storage system. There's also a built-in calculator app, and a movie player, and a remote desktop application. Not much more in terms of local apps. There's a front-facing camera. It's not a great camera, but it's enough for doing some basic video chat type stuff, or you can record yourself if you wanted to. And that's about it for local stuff. For the most part, you're going to want to be using this with an internet connection, and the Celeron processor is reasonably responsive, and it supports things like Netflix, takes a moment to load, but once it does load, video playback looks pretty good. And you can do full screen. And at some point, that little warning should go away. I guess we want to hit the allow button. Anyways, so video looks pretty good from Netflix, likewise from Google Play or YouTube. We've got a 720p video playing here. And it's a 1366 by 768 pixel, 11.6 inch diagonal display. So you can see that looks pretty good. And of course, basic web browsing works pretty well. We've got a touchpad here which supports 2-finger gestures, so I'm scrolling up and down using 2 fingers. No, it doesn't do pinch to zoom, but we can also go to the scroll bars here on the side to do that. And doesn't have too many problems opening lots of websites at once. You can see some resource-heavy sites take a little bit longer to load. But for the most part, it does what you would expect from a web browser. And unlike earlier versions of Chrome, you can run in windowed mode. So we don't have to have each web page taking up a full screen, we can actually load web pages side by side or do other things along those lines. So overall, pretty impressed with the responsiveness for a $200 laptop and the number of things you can do with it. Now, of course, because it only runs web apps, if you wanted to edit photos or videos, there's a little bit of a basic photo editor in here, but if you wanted to do video editing, audio editing, things like that, you're going to need to upload your documents online to do the editing. And for advanced picture editing, even, I would do that. But it's not really meant for sort of heavy-duty tasks like running Photoshop or running Adobe Premiere or something like that. It's really meant for surfing the web or even doing some work. As a blogger, I use WordPress to do most of my editing, which is an online application in the first place. So the fact that you've got Google Drive for storing your music, movies, well, pretty much any files online, pictures, and so forth. You can use Picasa, you can use Gmail, you can use Google Docs for editing files. And then there's the Chrome Web App Store for all sorts of add-ons that you might want to use. If you want to read books, you can use the Kindle app. If you want to listen to music or movies, you can use the Google Play Music app, Pandora, and so forth. Or jam with Chrome if you wanted to make music using on-screen musical instruments. Give you another quick look here at sort of the hardware. And something else that also sets this apart, besides the hard drive that I mentioned, is actually the keyboard. It is modified from the version that you get if you get the Windows Acer Aspire V5, but it's more like a Windows laptop than any other Chromebook we've seen. There's a caps lock key here and a dedicated search key, so you don't have to choose between them. You actually have both. And you'll notice that in the upper range here, we've got your dedicated Chrome buttons for back, forward, refresh, maximize, switch windows, and so forth, as well as hardware keys for enabling and disabling wireless, volume, brightness, and so forth. But in the fine print, we've actually got F1, F2, F3, and so forth. So if you run across web pages that interact with an F5 key, you would hit function, brightness down, and that would be the same as an F5. What that also means, and I haven't had a chance to test this yet because I literally just got this within the past hour or two, is that if you enter developer mode and perhaps unlock the bootloader, there's a chance that you might be able to install other operating systems. So with a 320 gigabyte hard drive and with a somewhat standard keyboard, this seems like a pretty good candidate for dual booting Chrome OS along with, say, Ubuntu Linux or maybe even Windows 7 or Windows 8. I can't think of a lot of reasons why you wouldn't be able to run those operating systems. Something a lot of people ask me with devices like this is sort of part of the portability. This is the power adapter. So it's not a very large power adapter. You don't have a big brick style adapter. It does have this sort of funky adapter. I don't know if this is because this is the demo unit that I got directly from Google, or if this is what Acer's going to ship them with to everybody, but this can work with different sorts of adapters, so it can work in different countries. This is the US adapter, and it's pretty lightweight, a couple of ounces. It doesn't add a lot to the size and weight of this laptop. So you've got a thin and light 11.6-inch laptop that runs a lightweight operating system, resumes from sleep pretty much instantly, and is pretty portable. The only real problem is that it's not expected to get great battery life. When somebody tells you the battery life is expected to be 3.5 hours, you don't really expect it to be much more than that. Usually companies are more likely to overestimate rather than underestimate. Just to show you real quick here, we've got a couple of seconds left in the video. Turned it entirely off. Let's go ahead and see how long it takes to boot. So that's about 20 seconds to the screen where you enter a password. Once you enter that password, which I would do faster if I didn't have a band-aid on my finger, then you're good to go. So about 20 seconds to boot, and once you enter the password and log on, connects to the internet pretty quickly, and you're online in no time at all. This is Brad Linder with Liliputing, and a first look at the Acer C7 Chromebook. I'll have more details and a complete review coming up soon. This is Liliputing.com.